Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping right into a huge update to India's GST registration process. If you're running a small business or even just thinking about starting one, this is a change you've absolutely got to get your head around.
So, the game is totally changed here. The old way? It was 100% online. You'd fill out your application on the GST portal, an officer would look at it, and boom, approved or rejected. All digital. Super straightforward. But now? Well, we're in a whole new hybrid world. The application still starts online, but now you have to make an in-person visit for biometric verification. Yeah, it's a pretty big deal.
So the big question, right? What does this new mashup of online and in-person stuff actually mean for your business on a practical level? Let's dive in and break down exactly how this new system works step by step.
All right, let's get into the nitty-gritty of this new and, more involved process.
Here's the new flow. First, you still submit everything online, just like you used to. But then, and this is the new part, you have to book an in-person appointment. Honestly, the best way to think about it is like getting a passport. You do the paperwork online, but then you have to physically go to a GST Suvidha Kendra, which is basically a government service center, to finish things up. They'll check your documents, take your biometrics, and even snap a new photo. It's a much more hands-on process now.
Okay, hold on. Before you start stressing about booking appointments and digging up documents, let's just take one step back. We need to make sure you even have to register for GST in the first place. This is square one.
So here's the deal. The turnover limits, they boil down to two things: what you do and where you do it. If you're selling goods in most states, the magic number is an annual turnover of 40 lakh rupees. If you're providing services, that number drops to 20 lakh. And if your business is based in one of the special category states, those limits are cut in half again. 20 lakh for goods and just 10 lakh for services.
But, and this is a big but, for some businesses, those turnover limits just don't matter at all. Registration is mandatory from day one. So if you're selling stuff on Amazon or Flipkart, or if you're supplying goods or services to another state, you have to get a GST registration, period. This also goes for non-residents, agents, and something called input service distributors, which are basically head offices that handle tax invoices for their various branches.
Okay, so you figured out you need to register. What's next? It's time to gather your paperwork. Let's run through the essential document checklist so you can build a rock-solid application file. These are the absolute basics, the non-negotiables. It doesn't matter what kind of business you run. You're going to need your PAN card, your Aadhaar card, and listen, it has to be linked to your mobile for the OTP verification, a recent passport-size photo in the right format, and of course, your bank account details. Get these together first. Now, depending on how your business is structured, the list gets a little longer. For a partnership firm, you'll need that partnership deed. If you're set up as a company or an LLP, you'll need the certificate of incorporation and a board resolution. And for a Hindu undivided family, or HUF, you'll need the HUF's PAN card. See? Each business type has its own specific proof you need to provide.
All right, I really need you to lean in and pay close attention here, because this next part is, without a doubt, the single biggest reason applications get stuck and, you guessed it, rejected. We're talking about your business address proof. Seriously, I can't stress this enough. This is the hurdle where most applications stumble and fall. The GST authorities are incredibly strict about verifying your business address. One tiny mistake here, and you could be sent right back to the beginning. So how do you get it right? Well, if you own the property, a recent electricity bill or your property tax receipt will do the trick. If you're renting, you need a notarized rent agreement and the latest electricity bill. Now here is the classic trap, the one that gets so many people. If that electricity bill is in your landlord's name, which, let's be honest, it usually is, you absolutely must get a no objection certificate, an NOC, from the owner. Without it, your application is almost certainly dead in the water. Okay, we're almost at the finish line. Beyond the main documents, there are just a couple of other potential hurdles you should probably know about. Let's cover those real quick. First thing, depending on what state you're in, you might need something called a professional tax registration or PT registration before you can even apply for GST. And second, don't be shocked if a GST officer decides to pop by for a visit to your business. This physical verification can happen before or after you get your registration. It doesn't happen every time, but it's always a possibility you should be ready for. Okay, I know what you're thinking. That sounds like a ton of work. So after all that, why even bother? Well, because the benefits of getting this done right are huge.
Let's look at this like risk versus reward. On the one hand, if you don't comply, you're looking at some pretty steep penalties, at least 10,000 rupees or 10% of the tax you owe, whichever is more. Ouch. But on the other hand, the reward for doing it right is huge. You gain legal recognition and you unlock some seriously powerful benefits for your business.
And what's the biggest reward? The absolute game changer? It's all about unlocking something called input tax credit, or ITC. This right here is the whole point of the GST system.
So what on earth is ITC? Put simply, it lets you reduce the tax you have to pay on your sales. You get to claim a credit for the GST you've already paid on all your business purchases. We're talking about raw materials, office rent, machinery, professional services, all of it. You basically get that GST back, which is a massive boost to your cash flow.
And the perks don't stop with ITC. Having that GST identification number, your GSTIN, makes your business official. It gives you legal recognition. It's your ticket to selling on the big e-commerce platforms. It builds trust and credibility with bigger customers and suppliers, and it means you can do business across state lines, no problem.
So there you have it. That's the new playbook. The big question is your business ready for this new hybrid world of GST registration? Look, the process is definitely more complex now, there's no doubt about it. But being prepared, knowing the steps, and having the right documents makes it completely manageable. And getting it right is the key to unlocking the real growth of your business.